Hello and welcome to the Boostara podcast. I am your host, James. On the Boostara podcast, we meet leaders in business and education and uncover the truths and insights from their amazing experiences. At Boostara, we help business leaders boost growth, cut costs, and gain better business insights. If you would like to learn more about how we can help you leverage AI in your business, please type the word growth into the comments below and I'll be sure to reach out. Today, we are joined by the amazing Karl Douglas, co-owner of Beverley Travel. And I want to ask Karl where you're calling from. I see the map behind. I want to think that you're on a beach somewhere, but I guess not.
Yeah, I want to think I'm on a beach tomorrow as well, but no, I'm sat in our Beverley office on Flemingate, yeah.
We're probably about half a mile apart from each other, I think. So I think people in the local area will be most probably familiar with yourself, will know Beverley Travel, but for the benefits of listeners joining us from further afield, could you just introduce yourself, Karl, tell us a little bit about Beverley Travel and your journey to where you are now?
Yeah, it depends how far you want to go back. I've got quite a long history. So I actually started in the travel industry at the end of 2017. I took a franchise to be a sort of home worker independent as I was selling another business, as I decided to sell another business that I was involved with, and wanted, I guess, potentially a kind of nice sideline to help me travel to nice places or potentially grow into a bigger business. And at the beginning of 2019, so about 18 months later, I did sell the other business that I was involved with, and decided to go into travel full time. I realized it wasn't a business you could play at. If you wanted to give really, kind of outstanding service to your customers. So it was kind of do or don't at that point. Started working from home. I was in an office previously and didn't really like the working from home. I like going to work. I'm one of those. I'm probably one of the odd ones out nowadays. And decided that I was either going to open an office, but more likely a kind of retail location. Spent most of 2019 looking to get that going, and then towards the end of 2019, Thomas Cook happened. Most people will know what went on there. One of the biggest things to impact the industry up until that point. One of the biggest, or the second biggest tour operator going out of business. But also, they weren't just a tour operator taking their own customers. They had a huge airline that other tour operators used as well. So the impact was enormous. And at that point, I thought, is this the industry I really want to be in? And I decided to, but that brought the opportunity that there were staff looking for opportunities. So I managed to get in contact with some of the staff from the Thomas Cook Beverley office, and they agreed to come on board. And then found the first location, which was a pop-up shop on Flemingate, which we opened in January 2020, right at the start, and had an amazing 2 months. And then the biggest thing to hit the travel industry happened in March 2020. So that's kind of the short story. Before getting into travel, I had another business which was supplying medical devices. And before that, I spent 15 years at Smith and Nephew. Started as a trainee accountant and ended up as a general manager of one of their business units, having gone into different departments and different roles. And then before that, I meandered a little bit, working out what I wanted to do in life. So I've done various things from managing pubs to selling life insurance and mortgages to driving a taxi while I was doing a university course before I got into accountancy. So yeah, that's the kind of potted history of my work.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. I mean, picking up on the kind of little theme on crisis. I know a lot of people probably don't like me saying COVID, but I've said this on other podcasts because it is definitely relevant in terms of managing to steer a company, steer a business through crises that happen all the time, right? I guess what did you find was the kind of recipe for success to keep things going in such an uncertain climate?
We just did as much as we could all of the time. There were lots of restrictions in place, not just on where people could travel, but also how we could work.
Mm,
We just did the maximum we could at any possible point in time.
mm. Yeah, I guess just having that appetite and that energy to keep going and seeing some sort of light at the end of the tunnel where others might have just given up, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure we saw any light at the end of the tunnel, but we just kept going.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wish for it to happen again, but bizarre things happen when you're in those circumstances. So
Yeah.
I've known my current business partner and co-owner, Kelly, since 2017. We both started at the same time with the same franchise and met at their annual conference in the November 2017. And formed a buddy relationship. Would kind of help each other out on things. Did a few sort of wedding fairs and promotional things together. Shared the cost, shared the leads, and then I rang her in the middle of the lockdown and just said, "Right, how's things going?" Bit of a stupid question, and said, well, that was around the time you were allowed to meet for socially distanced business meetings with a coffee or something like that. So we met for a coffee, and I was at that point was in negotiation with the landlords on Flemingate about a permanent unit,
Mm.
which was about 5 times the size of the pop-up one we were in, and was looking at taking a 5-year lease, and walked into this cavernous building, and Kelly just said, "Are you crazy?" I said, "Well, probably." But after we chatted through our business plans, I said, "You know what, probably the best thing we could do," so half joking, was put our businesses together, have one lot of infrastructure costs and two lots of customers.
Yeah.
Um, then that was it. We said goodbye, and then later that evening, Kelly messaged me and said, "Were you serious?" I was, "Well, I said it half in jest, but the more I think about it, the more it makes absolute sense." So we did it. We took on that unit, which I'm sat in now, and just kept going. Yeah, that's all we did. We thought it would all be over by sort of July, August when the Help to Eat Out scheme launched, and that was it. The world was back to normal and flights started taking off, and then
Yeah.
there was a few more um, ripples and waves to navigate, but yeah, we survived, and it taught us a lot of lessons actually.
And you obviously both weren't crazy. You know you've done it well. You've done it successfully, and
Yeah.
and you've grown, right? You've
Yes.
opened more sites. You've opened more aspects to the business.
Yes.
And I guess a, a question maybe for people not involved with the travel industry, especially, is I thought travel agents were dead. Everything's online, and we're going to talk a bit
Yep.
on AI later. I
Yep.
guess you would give the argument that travel agencies are definitely not dead. They're very, very
Yeah.
relevant.
Yeah. Last few years, obviously, apart from in the height of COVID, and when Thomas Cook went under, so since COVID, the number of travel agents on the high street has remained stable for the first time in 40 years. And actually, the ones that are closing are generally sort of retirement closures. One or two going out of business through generally overburdening the businesses with debt, probably to get through COVID. Um, but underlying good businesses, and then other branches opening that are replacing them. And actually, there's a lot of travel agencies opening now, up and down the country. So we're by no means the only ones opening. There are a lot, and the spend will always be dominated by direct and online sales. Although that does include some of our stats, because obviously we use in some websites to book travel. So that does include travel agency bookings to some extent. But agency bookings were the only sector of travel that grew in the last year. So people are returning to travel agents more, and we're finding that, and there's a few reasons behind that.
What kind of reasons? What are
Yeah.
those pushes?
Yeah, I think there's the more information there is available on the internet, the harder it is to find what you're looking for. I think is
Yeah.
another known thing. I think since COVID, people value their private time more, and don't want to sit up till midnight searching for, to save £5 and book everything and have the press the right thing. And obviously, a lot of people's only technology is their phone, which starts auto correcting your name, and then you press book and you really
Yeah.
and people are wanting something a little bit different now. So yes, there's a big market, obviously, still for the kind of typical Mediterranean fly and flop. But people are wanting something more, and they're wanting advice, and they're wanting to know that if they're doing something more complex, that somebody has their back. And it's better to have somebody who you know where they live, or at least you know where they work,
Yeah. Yeah.
than an email only or a chatbot support, that you get with a lot of online bookings at best. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, there are some of the reasons, and I think there's also been a big push. I think somebody gave it a name the other day for localism. People are wanting to support local independent businesses more.
Right.
We know the high street is under massive pressure from the internet, but also from some rather strange government policy decisions. But I think people are wanting to support local businesses, but particularly independents more.
Mhm. That's that. Yeah, that makes complete sense. I guess to add to that, would you say? I mean, the experience of walking into a shop, the kind of excitement of, oh, I'm going to book my holiday. That's something that you can't really replicate so much online. Like you said, when you get overwhelmed with information and oh, should I do this? Should I not? When you can just go in, you feel excited because you know someone's going to professionally take care of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And we try and make it an experience from the moment people walk in.
Mm,
A nice greeting. Space, so they're not sat on top of listening to each other's holidays and personal details and things. A coffee or a tea, maybe a glass of prosecco or a beer. And just generally try and make the whole experience pleasurable. We take care of all the documentation needs up to travel, and always check in with our customers when they get back to make sure they've had a great time and
yeah,
if there's any feedback for us. So,
yeah. Uh,
it's kind of that, that when I guess it's the difference between going to a restaurant where you go and serve yourself and a restaurant where somebody comes and serves you.
yeah, yeah, for
People
sure,
always
right?
people always prefer the latter.
Yeah,
Nearly,
yeah.
nearly, nearly always.
What would you say are the sort of the common misconceptions people have for those that aren't booking in travel agent shops right now, aren't coming to you? What are the misconceptions that they have that should be dispelled?
That is more expensive.
Mm,
It's the first one. We can we're there or thereabouts on everything. Um, there's one or two times where there's a deal advertised that's been negotiated, especially and they're selling off some excess and it's specific dates and things that's been closed out. Yeah, that's fine.
mm,
And but for 99 times out of 100, we're there or thereabouts. Sometimes a little bit cheaper, sometimes a little bit more, and usually we'll end up matching anyway. But the vast majority of our suppliers were exactly the same price as if our customers went directly to them. So, for example, most cruise lines, uh, that would apply to touring and adventure operators, your branded package holiday providers, etc. So, the vast majority of things that people would want to book themselves, we do it for the same, and we don't charge any additional fees, which is another misconception.
mm.
Particularly with people who've never booked with a travel agent. The price thing I think comes from people who used to book with travel agents, and then the internet came along, and there was a massive price differential. I've been through that curve.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but we wouldn't exist if that was still the case. So so price is not really an issue now. So for me, it's all about the service. Okay, one or two people say that they prefer to just do it themselves. Well, that's fine. You've got the
mm,
choice. But
mm.
people who want some help and some advice and know that they've got that a real person has got their back, that's us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah. well, you've sold me as an individual. But I think a really interesting aspect about you guys is the way that you cooperate with businesses. And for a lot of
Yep.
people listening, they will be business leaders, they will be involved with businesses to some extent. Could you just kind of like elaborate a little bit on the way that you work with businesses, the kind of offerings that you have?
Yeah, so I mean, when I first set up the business and decided to go for a retail outlet, the intention was always to offer corporate travel as well. And when we very first set up in those first few months, we had all the corporate systems, etc. as well. And it was only because obviously corporate travel was hit even harder than leisure travel during COVID and after, as companies worked out whether they could actually even send people abroad, for a while. We just focused on the leisure business, and that was growing so fast that we didn't have time to build up the corporate side. But we do an awful lot. We mix with a lot of business owners. We do a lot of networking, which is where we met at a business networking meeting. And it's a natural extension to think, these people obviously travel for their holidays, but how can we help them in their business world as well? So we've got a number of schemes where we can offer incentives to their employees that are at no cost to the employer, as well as some that do. So, for example, we'll offer some free vouchers for employees to give out to their employees. There's also a little known government scheme called the Trivial Benefits scheme, where you can give set up to £600 a year to employees, tax and national insurance free for both the employee and the employer.
Oh, wow, wow, yeah.
And it's very clear, straightforward scheme, and that can be used for anything. There's a few rules, but it's very easy. It basically can't be used as an incentive or a reward. It has to be a thank you and fair.
Yeah.
You can't single out individuals. It's got to be two people doing the same job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And then we have some other schemes as well, which are a little bit more complicated. But
yeah, I can imagine companies using those kinds of you kind of like aspects for annual meeting prize giveaways. I remember when I worked in China, usually the top prizes were a trip somewhere internationally.
yeah,
And it was always the the gift that someone wanted to get, the
yeah,
prize someone
absolutely.
wanted to win.
Yeah, so those are usually kind of paid for gifts, but these are kind of a little bit on a smaller scale. So
Mm.
for example, if you had 5 people in customer service and they've done a great job, you could give them all up over the course of a year up to £600
Yeah, yeah.
in benefits, and then we have an underlying VIP loyalty club, which is free for everyone to join, and it's really simple. You when you travel, you get some points back based on the value of the travel that you've just undertaken,
Yeah.
which converts to discounts off future travel.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Yeah. And it's encouraging people to travel, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think as someone who I lived abroad for quite a number of years, I'm always one to tell everyone, go somewhere you never thought to go.
yep,
Live somewhere just on the cuff. Just go live abroad, especially to younger people. Go try something
yep,
new because you can't put a price on the value of traveling abroad and seeing different cultures, experiencing different places.
absolutely.
It's so valuable, right?
Yeah, and
Um,
I learned to travel through business, and it was that kind of gave me the idea really to go into the travel industry. So
Amazing, amazing. Well, I've got to ask you AI, right? So,
yeah.
uh, what's the impact been? I mean, AI has been something that's kind of slowly jumped onto the scene. Businesses are starting to adopt more workflows, processes. What's the kind of impact you've seen in the travel agency space?
Yeah, I guess at the minute fairly limited. Obviously there's some behind the scenes stuff going on with people are using it for internal purposes. We are as well. We've used it to help us like job descriptions and all that kind of stuff. Release things that a good start of a 10 on a letter. But where it's developing will be around the marketing side and basically automating a lot of stuff. I heard that saying that you won't lose your job to AI, but you may well lose it to somebody using AI.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably we're not quite seeing that yet in the travel world, but I think we will. But from a time perspective, sitting there manually typing out the same thing over and over and over again, for example,
Mm.
it has just got to disappear. We've got to automate those kind of things. And for us, that what that enables us to do is instead of manually inputting information from one system to another, which is scarily it happens a scarily amount of times. I was pretty aghast at the standard of the systems in the travel world when I first started, and still am actually. But I think that's where a massive opportunity, so that it allows us even more to focus on on the customer and the personalization of the service, and making sure that we're adding value all the time, not just processing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of legacy systems, I mean, across industries, right?
Yes, absolutely
Things that have
everywhere.
been in place since like the 90s.
Yeah,
When you look at it, like how is
yeah,
this still used? But I
yeah,
suppose it's still used because it works, or it just hasn't been looked at being integrated with other systems or updated in
yeah,
that way.
yeah. Definitely, I have. In my time, I was involved in a few IT what one system implementations that ended up being, just an overlay of a number of systems.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other aspect, for example, we have a lot of search. There's a lot of disconnections, So for example, we've got accommodation and flight search tools, but they're just not, they're not connected to all of our suppliers and that kind of thing, So
Mm,
just being able to cast the net a little bit wider, more quickly,
yeah.
would help us massively. You think of some of the big players in travel and outside of travel, or in the broader travel. Like Uber, for example. They're an IT company. They're not a taxi company.
Yeah.
Booking.com are an IT company. They're not a hotel company,
Mm.
which probably tells you why the service is so poor. But uh, sorry if anyone's involved in the IT world. So I think the travel industry has to be the best at using systems to help us give the best service, because that's how we've differentiated ourselves as a business, and I think that is really in the modern world the only way you can. Everyone has access to the same product, everyone has access to the same pricing. So your differentiation has to come from service. And I think in any industry, if you go down the route of trying to be the lowest cost, you've not got long
Yeah.
in that business.
Yeah.
So you might be able to make some quick bucks, but if you're in it for the long term, service has to be the prime focus.
Mm. You reminded me, my old mentor boss telling me that for a business to succeed kind of long into the future, it's about building strong, not quick, not scaling too fast, because the faster that you grow, if you just spit out opening loads and loads of centers
Yeah,
within 5 years, you're going to fall down just as quick.
yeah,
The point is that you need the strength. You need the strength in the service members that you
yep,
that you're employing, that you have. And
yep,
I can imagine in your situation, the best kind of scenario is to automate as much of the administrative
yes,
duties as possible, to allow your amazing staff to interact with
yep,
people, because that's
100%.
that's that's where you're bringing people in, you're making them well served, looking after people, and making sure that they go on the right holiday for them, right?
Yep, yep,
um
absolutely.
yeah, it's
Even on marketing, for example, if we've been on a trip, to sit and write a blog, not everyone's a natural blog writer.
yeah.
You can upload your itinerary into AI and say, and right now write me this, get me a starter of a blog based on this itinerary, and highlight the things that are amazing about where I've been, and then you can add in your personal bits.
Mm.
So it can get you 80% of the way very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, just to ask you very quickly as well, when you get to the peak season, I suppose, but that's probably the most important, isn't it? Where you have customers coming in, but you don't want them to leave without having been dealt with. I mean, is that does that become more of an issue at that period when you want to make sure that you keep hold of as many kind of customers as possible?
Um, I mean, we have a pretty good conversion rate by industry standards, and we're never going to book everybody, and we're not the right travel agent for everybody. So, people are
Yeah,
wandering, and we're not right for them, and one or two customers aren't right for us as well.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so we're never after 100%, but we're very clear with people about our approach
Mm,
and um what we expect from them as well as a customer.
yeah,
And we have a charter written down that spells it out. That obviously most of it is about what we will do for them, and then there's a little bit about what we expect from them, and it's primarily around honesty and integrity.
yeah,
You know, don't take the Mickey. Yes, we're offering free advice, but don't abuse that.
yeah,
And all we ask is, if we, if fine if you're just having a look see, just tell us you're having a look see. That's fine.
yeah,
We'll have a chat and give some ideas and some inspiration. But it takes a long time sometimes to put quotes together for complicated itineraries.
yeah,
Doing that and then we're not quite sure. We're just thinking, we want to think about it. It's like, it's handling those things. But on the whole, people are generally coming in because they are interested.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
But
yeah,
but if they are transparent like that, then you respect them more,
100%.
for that, right? Yeah, it goes both ways.
Yeah, 100%. And we kind of lay out those expectations before we do any sort of detailed work.
Yeah, yeah. Very,
Um,
very interesting.
so
What would you say then, Carl? I mean, going into the future, the next kind of 5, 10 years, what does the future look like for Beverley Travel and yourself?
um, 10 years, I'm not so sure. 5 years will be about delivering that kind of growth in a way that doesn't compromise what we're about.
Mm,
Um, we've of course put some numbers around that, but the caveat we've said is that we're not going to, the point where we feel we're growing too fast or too big, we'll slow or we'll slow down or we'll stop,
mm,
because we don't want to lose the quality of that service.
yeah,
And for us running the business, we don't want to lose touch with our team. Um, the day we can't remember everybody's name, the day we don't know, personal things about people,
yeah,
then that's probably that be the point where we've got too big. So
yeah,
so we need to be conscious of that as we're going. And then we need to build a team that's going to take the business on to the next level. We're not really about selling out. Lots of people ask me that, what's your exit plan? And I usually say dying. Why would I want to leave it? Why would I leave an industry where you get, amazing travel perks and it's just such a fun industry to be part of as
hmm
well. But behind that, the serious point is, we're building a brand that um, has a lot of personal connections and things. Well, why would we want to sell out to, one of the big players who are just going to come in and paint it
yeah,
in a different color and stick their sign above the door and just make it like all the
yeah,
others?
yeah,
We want to retain that independence and that uniqueness,
mm,
which I'm sure will evolve over time. And but
yeah.
probably the future for us is the management team that we build, taking the business over and taking it on.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I think, and that's absolutely true. I mean, as I've seen Beverly Travel, it is like the heart of the community, and the clues in the name. And
yeah,
I think I haven't been to Head and Travel, right? But I can imagine that's much the same. It's you've built it to be a part of the community. That's why
100
it's in
100%.
the name is there, right? Because
Yep,
it's Heddon's,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an interesting question for you. I mean, opening up the new shops. Is that and obviously not getting out of touch with your staff members or the community, is that has that made it more exciting and refreshing, like being able to travel and engage with a new community, a new sort of bunch of staff members, or has that become much more difficult and stressful, or a bit of
Um,
both?
yeah, well, yeah, I suppose a bit of both, but yeah, I love it because I'm not your crank the handle kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, um, if I'm if I suppose the devil makes work for idle minds. I think that would be me if I'm left in kind of doing the same thing day in day out, then I'm going to cause trouble. So so I need things to keep me busy, and I need variety, and I need something new to be working on all the time. So so yeah, I thrive on it. What's been great has been that in every store, both the stores we've opened, we've moved staff from Beverley to those, so that there's part of that culture ready-made goes with them, and then we'll work hard to maintain that. But each store's unique as well.
Yeah,
The principles and the standards are the same, but they all have their own personality.
yeah.
And that's also in our other store, which is a franchise store. They started with us as an independent on a self-employed basis, which we started that in 2023. There's 12 people now who work independently under our brand, or under a brand that we own, and some of them under their own brand. And one of them went on to open a store, but we taught them our principles that obviously they then develop their own, but there's still the base connection there of how that business is run, and that's another opportunity for us is to I don't want to spend my life on the motorway, so
Yeah.
Another limit on us will be geographical.
Mm.
Probably 45 minutes of within 45 minutes of Beverley.
Yeah.
And then but beyond that we could franchise stores anywhere.
Amazing. I think a very exciting future for you guys, right?
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
exciting. Well, I mean, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, reach out to you, what's the best way to do so, Karl?
Yeah. Get in touch via the store. It's quite easy. Beverleytravel.co.uk. Contact details are on there. They'll call or email. It'll find its way through to me. Come along to my B&I networking group, or hang about in the pubs in Beverley. You're sure to bump into me somewhere.
Go on the pub crawl.
Go on the pub crawl.
Amazing. Brilliant, brilliant. Well, yeah, I'll put those contact details below. But yeah, Karl, been a fantastic conversation. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you, James.
Cheers, and thank you everyone for listening.